Okay, this one's from Trissament Celeste. Please, can you make a tutorial for the backwards jumping knee? I actually like this question. Not a lot of people have noticed the differences in knees. So yeah, I like this question and I'm gonna answer it for you now. The backwards knee done slightly differently. I'm gonna refer you to my video with Cyborg. It's a very different knee. It's a bit more of an aggressive knee. I'm pressing forward towards my opponent, and it's a bit of a counter movement. As I see something coming is when I respond and trigger my move. And this is very similar, but I'm gonna do it in a slightly different way. Now, I'm gonna explain it by showing you going forward first, because it will make sense going backwards. So if I were doing a jumping knee going forward, bicycle knee is what I call it, yeah? Because it's slightly different. A jumping knee like the Cyborg one is stationary, jumping off both legs, knee in and landing, like almost in the opposite stance. Whereas this one, a bicycle knee, is done with individual knees working separately, yeah? So one knee, or one leg, should I say, is to gain momentum. I'm swinging forward towards them, and that second knee is where the impact will come. Obviously, I'm gonna be in the air. So I'm bicycle knee, landing, going forward towards my opponent. But the counter one, going backwards, is done very similarly, triggered by my opponent pressing forward. So as they come is when I make my move, and I'm gonna swing my leg backwards. So my front leg, you can see my weight is going away from me. And that's to get away from any technique coming towards my head at that time. And I'm going away, lifting my leg up, kicking up in the air for momentum, and then the opposite knee is what's gonna land. Now, I usually get this one when people are pressing forward in order to grab my legs, to go for takedowns. A lot of people will throw a punch and then try to shoot for my leg. That punch will be missed by me leaning, then my leg will swing up for momentum. That front leg swings up as I lean back, swings up. And then as they drop down to shoot for my legs, swings up, that's the knee there. Yeah, so one more time, lean back, momentum, front leg, knee off the back leg. I'm gonna do it towards the camera. So I'm in my stance, usual sideways stance, MVP, hands down, they press, I lean away from that target, boom, knee will land. If you watch my fight in Japan, you'll see me land this a couple of times. As my opponent, he was a bit shorter than me. As he kept pressing forward, I kept catching him backpedaling with my knee, yeah? So it's a jumping away. I call it a bicycle knee. One more time. Go practice. Okay, we have Anthony Duran, 4052. And you asked, how do I defend a calf kick when I'm in side position, on a side stance? And how do I throw a rear roundhouse to the calf faster? So 2 questions there I'm gonna answer. One is to do, obviously we're in the same stance for both. One is to do with my front leg, one is to do with my rear leg. So I'm gonna show you, nice and easy. So as we're in the sideways stance, what I find is more Muay Thai fighters are a bit more square. And it's not one is better than the other, it's just different, because there's different things you can do from this stance. You can generate a little bit more power in certain places, and specifically you can check kicks a lot easier, yeah? Because I'm not this way around where the kick's coming from almost behind me, it's a lot harder to then have to rotate my hips all the way this way to check a kick and then come back to stance, yeah? Whereas if I'm already quite square, adjusting my leg out to the side and turning my shin out to check a kick, 10 times easier. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I cheekily, depending on where I am, I may just drop my leg back. If I don't feel I'm gonna move in time, I'll just drop my leg back and then try to cushion that as much as possible. But for the most part, the best way to defend a calf kick is just not be there. And I always say the same thing. If I had the time to see it and then have my body respond and move into a position to block it, why not just move out the way completely, yeah? So obviously we have quite a wide stance. I'm gonna show you from this slight angle here. We have quite a wide stance anyway, bouncing backwards and forward. I've showed this many a times. As this kick comes, all I'm doing is adjusting my front leg, not all the way, because now I have no balance. Just enough to be out of the way of that kick and back in position. And that's the great thing about it. You can get just out and back in position immediately. And a lot of the times if they're given a lot of momentum, they're gonna go past. The only thing you then have to worry about is any spinning back fist. So although I move my leg out and position my foot, I don't commit until I see anything else coming. What I usually say is, at a junction, when you get to the junction, you look for the car, double check for the cyclist. That's good advice, tell me. Double check for the cyclist. Same thing with a low kick. Low kick comes, boom, double check for the spinning back fist, then land your counter. So that's for the front leg. I'm just adjusting, but not all the way, just out the way. And a lot of times I'll keep my hands up just in case they try the question mark kick and they lied about that. And if I do this and I lean forward, they might catch me upstairs. So I wanna have my leg back, not together, still balance, and then back in. I'm sideways, back in. A lot of the times, if you watch my fights, you'll see anytime that anybody tries to attack that front leg, they miss, they're kicking air, yeah? Anthony, your second question was, I'm giving you the double whammy today. I'm allowing you 2 questions. Your second question was, can I speed up that kind of, my roundhouse from the back leg for a low calf for yourself? It's not really about speeding up your kick, yeah? It's more about the timing of when you're throwing your kick. It's also about the distractions that you're throwing prior to firing your kick. A lot of people, what I call, and my coaches and my teammates call, kicking cold. Kicking cold means there was no setup. I've gone from my current position, whatever that may be. You might be in this position here. Yeah, if you're similar to myself, you're side on, you might be in this position. Nothing's happening other than the bounce, and then I throw a low kick. Kicking, they tend to be the bigger actions, yeah? And because they're big actions, it's easier to read, which means I have to give you something else before I land the kick. You're so focused on what's going on here. You're focused on the fakes, the jabs, then my kick comes in. That is not kicking cold. Kicking cold is if you do nothing and then try to do a big kick. That's whether it be a low kick, body kick, head kick, yeah? So sometimes you can kick cold, but it's about you have to have really good timing. But if you want to try and land that leg, that rear leg kick, because it is a big action, it's coming from the furthest point, yeah? This is your furthest weapon, yeah, from your opponent. You have to land the distractions. You have to shuffle your feet in heavy, but also do it with a jab, with a punch, slip, landing your shots, or after you've avoided the technique and then land the shot. That's not kicking cold, it's a counter to. So although it's straight from nothing to the kick, I've done it based off of something coming towards you. You've missed, bah, land that kick because they're now off position. So that's different. But kicking cold from nothing, they haven't thrown anything, you haven't thrown anything, and you're just throwing, that's probably what you might be struggling with and why you may be struggling to land that kick. So just take that into consideration. My guy, Aristo7181, your question was, MVP, how do you set up a question mark kick? Now, a question mark kick in itself is a very good kick. If you're good at it, it's a very good kick to do. So I'll quickly break down the best points of a question mark kick. And the reason why I think the question mark kick is so good is because it's almost a setup in a whole move in itself. So because there's 2 big actions, the more mobility you have and dexterity you have in your hips, on your knee chamber, the better your question mark kick is. You want to, things that you can practice is just stationary, chambering, holding your knee up, working in there. You're gonna find the burns, doing it from the sides, different angles, legs straight in front of you, legs extended out to the side of you, and then just build the strength in and around your hips. The better they are, the better your question mark kick is. The higher your knee chamber, the better your question mark kick is. Because if I can get my knee chamber up to you, to your face, you never know exactly what kick's coming. You have to defend that knee chamber in front of you, which usually looks like it's gonna be a teep, that push kick forward. So you're gonna have to adjust your guard. You can't allow me to come straight out the middle, kick you in your face, or kick you to the body, or teep you to the body, because these things are damaging. So you have to take it seriously by dropping your hand, and that's when a question mark can come in, and it's very effective. In order to set it up, adding something else, like a different element to it, good thing to do. If I bug my opponent with something else, this one is a teep to the body. So I'm moving around. Every time I see an option, boom, I'm gonna teep just to the stomach here. And these things are slowly just like breaking down someone's energy. These things are something that you invest in that later on in the fight you'll capitalize on. Yeah, but at the beginning, you're just dropping the teep to the body, faking, boom, dropping the teep to the body, faking, boom, dropping the teep to the body, making people want to stop, block these movements. That's your setup. I keep investing, spend money in the body. Eventually, you see big actions because they don't like this kick anymore. You see big actions as you raise your knee, it's game over. You're here, you see a big action, then you change. Rotate your hip round, land that question mark kick. But you asked how to set it up, so I'm assuming you know how to do your question mark kick. So focus on other things, your teeps, your low kicks. The body kicks for me are the better ones because it forces your opponent's hands to adjust. Leg kicks, I'm not gonna adjust because I can block with my legs or avoid with my legs. But the body kicks, I have to use my hands to stop. And that's when you start dragging their hands away from their head that they're protecting. That's when the question mark is gonna be massively effective. Go practice that. Okay, at Andrew Levia 2029. Okay, you asked, hey MVP, I had a question for your Technique Tuesday. How much should you value fighting with your own style, what feels comfortable, like leaving your hands down, similar to myself, in fights compared to following the rules, i.e. keeping your hands up and doing things by the book? Love for the channel, MVP, keep them coming. I definitely will. Yeah, no, good question. For me, it's a very easy one. It's not really me showing anything, it's more explaining to you the values of your own style. Now, where does your own style come from? It comes from your instructor that teaches you something, and then your personality that will adopt that technique. 10 students can be every day training exactly the same technique, same disciplines, and come out with 10 different styles. And that's because our personalities encompass the style that we kind of incorporate, and also how we learn. With that said, it's not just, you will slightly adapt things to feel more comfortable, and it's definitely best to go with, but it also depends on your success rate. I wouldn't suggest, oh yeah, but I feel comfortable with my hands down, and this is how you fight. Getting hit every 2 seconds. I would say, yeah, mate, put your hands up because it's not working for you. So like I say, it's dependent on your success rate, especially when you get to a certain level. Even with my coach has now gained my respect as well. If he gives me something and I'm like, I kind of don't really like it, like doing it that way, he'll find an alternative way. So maybe you'd like it like this, or maybe you like it like that. It might be slightly more, even for himself, he's got a different body type to me. He'll say, this way I find more awkward, but with your body type, you might find it a bit easier, yeah? And that goes with punches, kicks, grappling, wrestling, whatever it is. So I would suggest the same thing for yourself. Obviously, you have to listen to the instruction that's coming in. Figure it out from base level, understand the technique. I would say understand how you would teach that technique to somebody else before you start adapting. Then you add your personality to it. If my personality, everybody's seeing, you know, I like to flow, hands are down, I'm moving, I'm smiling. That's my personality added to the technique. But the techniques are drilled, very well drilled, and they're successfully drilled. Most importantly, if I'm fighting with my hands here, it's because in the gym, when people are punching and kicking me, they're not landing. I'm successfully getting away with keeping my hands down and not doing the conventional. And that's against boxers, that's against kickboxers, that's against other MMA fighters. So I'm proven. So until you're proven, and don't get me wrong, don't be turned off by something that doesn't work immediately. Stick with things, try things. But if you're getting heavily damaged, then that's what you need to kind of avoid. So 100% go with your comforts, but also go with what is successfully working for you. All right, my guy, let's go. Guys, if there is anything that you want to know, don't forget to comment in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, any ideas that you want me to kind of drop to you guys. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and I'll see you next Tuesday.